Hi, this is super last second, but I decided to come on here because I just have so much in my mind. There's been so many things I've been thinking about, and I've been posting a lot of reels and TikToks lately about speaking up and using your voice. And when you do that, abusers will try to silence you, and they'll manipulate you and threaten you. And yeah, so that's been happening this weekend. I don't know what's going on, but apparently that's what's happening. Yeah, so people that I have gotten away from abuse are slowly trying to tell me like they're watching me. For instance, like I have my podcast and I have my YouTube channel and I have my Instagram and my Facebook, and I have like many different platforms, TikTok, and my YouTube channel. I get a notification tonight that my oldest sister has subscribed to my channel, and she's like disliking my videos about her, and basically like trying to tell me like she's there, and it's funny because it's like she's not gonna scare me anymore. Like my abusers, they can't. I mean, it's scary. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it is scary, but I'm not gonna let it control me anymore. So, like I know that I'm strong, and that's what abusers will try to do. Like, they're trying to get in my head. They're trying to, like my sister, for instance, like she's definitely trying to be like, you're wrong and you need to stop, and I didn't abuse you. Like, that's what abusers will do. And they'll turn it on you like you're the problem. Like you're being gaslighted into thinking and believing that you're making all of this up. And, you're not. You're not. Like that video that I posted about my sister, like that's reality. Like that was spoken to me by her so often. And I'll explain it again that my oldest sister used to say it in like a funny way, like as if she was funny, like as if it was supposed to be this funny joke. And she would say to me, I just can't believe that you're a mom. And she would say it so regularly to me. Like we would be having conversations and then she'd randomly say something like that to me. And I mentioned in the video that it was something like so nonchalant, like so subtle, and like as if it was supposed to be funny. And jokes are supposed to be funny for everybody. That is not funny. That is degrading. That is dehumanizing. And the way that she would say it, I explained in my video, is like as if I was incapable. I was incompetent. Like it was so baffling to her that I could ever be a parent. And so she was rubbing it in my face. Like, I just can't believe you have the responsibility to take care of children. And she would say it so many times, like as if it wasn't supposed to bother me. And okay, I'll explain. So in my family, there's a mom and a dad, and then there's siblings. I'm the youngest of four. So when you have a toxic family and you have a family around abuse, there's different roles that each member in the family plays. Some can have a similar role. And so even when you're not in a toxic family, like the oldest is usually like the person who is like the example, but add toxicity in there and abuse in there, and that oldest child is now like the star pupil. Like they're the golden child. It doesn't always have to be the oldest either. It could be like the youngest. It could be but in a family, in an abusive family, this is how, like a dysfunctional family, like these are the roles of the siblings. Like each sibling will get their own character to play. And so my oldest sister is the golden child, like the perfect child. And she will do no wrong. Like she could never make a mistake. And my oldest sister thrived off of that. Like that kept her alive, that concept. Just like she would rub it in my face about how like I'm the only one in the family who graduated in 4 years in college. And it's about, there's a way to say that without saying it like that, or like pointing out what my siblings would do or what I would do and how she would never do something like that. And how it baffles her that like we could, or I could do something like that. And then my parents would just like always say like, oh, she would never do that. And so, yeah, golden child. So, and for some reason, like there's 3 girls and 1 boy. For some reason, there's always been this dysfunction and toxicity within the sisters of like, there couldn't be like these 3 happy sisters. Like I would bring that up, and my sister closest in age with me would also say something similar. That like, why can't we all just get along? Or my oldest sister, it was like me and my other sister were like her puppets. Like anything that the oldest sister said, we would like follow. And it was either like the oldest sister and me were friends, or the sister closest in age with me and then my oldest sister were like best friends. And then like one of the sisters was always like to the side, like pushed to the side. Like nobody wanted to be around that sister. She was shunned. Most of the time that was me. But my sister closest in age, that happened to her too. And I remember my sister closest in age with me, when I was starting to get really close with my oldest sister, her being like, go have fun being her puppet again, because I'm done with that. And there's so much truth to that saying. There's so much truth to that. And I've been away from my family since, I haven't spoken to my oldest sister since December, like November, December. I haven't spoken to my father since November, December. And my sister closest in age with me earlier than that, probably like fall of 2020. And I actually had to get a harassment prevention order on my mother in March. So yeah, but I stopped contacting with her around like December, January. So yeah, I've completely left my toxic family members. But like I mentioned in one of those videos, is like they try to get in my head. Like, I have PTSD, depression, anxiety. Like, I've always had mental health needs. I mean, we all need to take care of our mental health, but I didn't have that growing up. Like, we were not taught about emotions. Emotions were suppressed. And I didn't have any healthy outlets. So my mental health is needing attention every single day, But like I said, everybody's mental health is in need of attention. But due to my trauma, like I seek out medical help, mental health often, if that makes sense. So I have a ton of different support groups. I have my therapist. Like, I am constantly 6 days a week in some sort of therapy or counseling. And when I spoke to my family, my mom strongly disliked that. Like, she would say, "Oh, it is so unhealthy that you are in so much therapy." And, like, it was looked at as a bad thing. But yeah, so I really just want to talk about how abusers will try to attack you when you speak out. So some things that were happening to me over the weekend is I was being threatened. I was being manipulated. So many different things were occurring because I spoke out. And that's not okay. It's not okay. Nobody should treat anybody that way. But, when it comes to somebody like me, having PTSD and depression, anxiety, like that, being threatened yesterday, like, completely sent me backwards, like, in my healing. And I was having extreme dissociation, extreme unwanted memories on overload. Like, as soon as I was threatened, I started having, like, flooding emotions of all of my abusers doing horrible things to me. Like, anybody between my children's father, my sister, my mom, my dad, like, any abusers throughout college, or like, it just started pouring in, and I felt like, how did I fall victim again? Like, I thought I was over that. I don't know how that happened to me again. So yesterday at one point I was like, is it me? Like, I don't know if it's me. Like, and it actually got me to laugh a little bit, because there's this reel or TikTok that's, like, viral that talks about, like, is it me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. And it's like, that's what I was literally thinking, is like, why do I keep attracting these situations? Like, why do I keep attracting these people to attack me? And what I came to the conclusion of is, like, I'm just so passionate about wanting to do this work. I'm so passionate about it. I'm sure the people who follow me can see that. Like, I'm posting so many things about this, like, daily, multiple times a day, wanting to spread awareness on these topics, because nobody talks about this stuff. Like, literally, you scroll on social media and it's all fake. None of it's real. So I'm sure, looking at my feed, some people might be like, what is wrong with this girl? And it's like, I'm keeping it real. Like, I'm literally showing you that it is okay to cry, and it is okay to speak out against what is wrong. like abusers, or, it's okay to speak up about mental health. It's okay to speak up about these things. Like, we need, instead of normalizing abuse, we need to normalize conversations, like heavy conversations. One of my neighbors and dear friends hosts a podcast called Distasteful Conversations, and she is amazing, because that is exactly what this is. It's all about domestic violence. It's a distasteful conversation. Nobody wants to have these conversations. Nobody's talking about this stuff. It makes people feel very uncomfortable. But the problem is that it keeps happening. It's still happening. I mean, like, you have no idea what is happening inside somebody's home. You have no idea who, like, your mailman is. Like, you have no idea. Like, the life inside your doctor, or, like, I mean, if it wasn't for my neighbors, I wouldn't even be alive. And I was screaming so loud that my neighbors heard me, thankfully, and called 911. But you know how many people just wouldn't get involved? They're like, oh, it's not my problem. Like, I was taught by my family to keep to yourself. Like, you do not get involved in other people's lives. Like, a main thing my dad would say to me is like, oh, you're going to choose outsiders over your family? Like, why are you going to outsiders? Like, as if we were supposed to keep everything in our family. And that's what he wanted, was because it was so abusive, we shouldn't talk about it. It was like he knew that it was bad, so we need to keep a secret. We have to keep this a secret. So anytime I went and chose outsiders over my mom, dad, or siblings, that was a crime to him. Like, I couldn't do that. How dare I do that? Yeah, it's just, this stuff is serious, and people need to be talking about it. In the comments, I hear social networking is more fake now. Speak out truth. Yeah, thank you so much for the support, because, and not a lot of people are supportive. A lot of people, I'm sure, look at my stuff and is like, okay, this again. And it's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm going to keep talking. I'm not going to stop. Even people threatening me and attempting to scare me, even though it's scary, like, I'm not quiet. Like, I'm going to keep going. So I would say the only thing that I did wrong yesterday is name drop. But you know what? I should be able to name drop. Like, we should be allowed to name drop and say, this is what this person did to me. This is, but what I've been doing is not name dropping, and then yesterday I name dropped. So, but I truly don't believe that I did anything wrong. It's just I'm reanalyzing everything, and I'm like, that's the only thing I can think of. But you know what? Like, that is what abusers will do, is like try to get you to think you're the problem. It's extreme gaslighting, and it's not okay. So, but I'll also talk a little bit about, since my videos got deleted yesterday, what I was talking about on my last live was all about my finances and how difficult it is for survivors to kind of start from the bottom all over again. So, I'm a mom to 3 kids. I have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And I am one parent taking care of 3 people. Okay, 4 people if you include me. I have 0 help. Half of the reason why I stayed around my abusive family was because they offered to help me with things. A lot of the reason why I stayed with my children's father. Like, he was help, even though he wasn't much help at all. But I mean, he was another human being, another adult. So that's actually very common in abusive relationships, is like you stay for so many reasons, but one of them being like, that's someone who can help you with children, or, my children's father was the breadwinner, as he called himself. So he took care of all the finances. Like, he made it that way. Like, he wanted me to stay at home and take care of the kids, and he was going to make all the money. And so, I mentioned in my last live about how we got here, like into this house. Yeah. And now that I'm in this house, so we closed on the house September 28th of 2019. No, March 28th. Yeah, so my daughter was born March 20th of 2019, and then we closed on the house March 28th of 2019. And we weren't even here 6 months before the abuse was taking place in the house. And then he was arrested September 28th of 2019. So I mentioned in my last live that I was in a shelter with my oldest son, and then I lived in a motel with him. And then from the motel, I got my apartment, and I stayed at that apartment for just about 3 years. So that apartment was not a shelter, and it was not a motel. So I was just happy to have my apartment. And I lived on the 3rd floor, and it was in an area that the people around me weren't so nice, if that makes sense. It's like the best way I can explain it. Yeah, they weren't very nice. So they were actually very abusive, very threatening, very manipulative, cruel people. So I really did not want to live there anymore. And I was still being abused by my children's father. Like, I had a restraining order on him. I got the restraining order in 2016, as soon as my oldest son was born. And I had mentioned, I did not listen to that restraining order. I was so caught up in the cycle that, I was so caught up in the cycle that I did not understand that I should, it's like I knew that he was mean and he was abusive, but I was so caught up in like a fairy tale world that I thought that I could like fix him and change him, and everything was going to be fine. So I was still heavily being abused when I lived at that apartment. And my daughter was conceived by abuse. And, now I'm pregnant with my daughter. And that was so confusing. Like, how to tell people that I was actually pregnant again when I had a restraining order. That was really hard to explain. So, but yeah, I was pregnant by my abuser again, a second time. And, he would come over, like he did not live at my apartment, but he would come over pretty often. and basically just like have his way with me. You know, like I was basically like a piece of property to him, and he used me for what he wanted. And then when he was through, he would leave, and like he would not be in my life for like months. And then he'd come back and be like, I want to be this dad. I want to be this boyfriend. I want to be a family. And I would believe it, you know, and then that's basically what would happen. It's the cycle of abuse. So it'd be, you know, like the honeymoon phase of like, oh, I love you so much. You're the best. Like, you're awesome. And then he starts like going back into his old ways, starts being cruel, abusive, manipulative, threatening. The abuse starts being really horrible. And then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. He's really apologetic. I forgive him. And then we're back to the honeymoon phase. And it just like continues and continues and continues. And that is what our entire relationship consisted of. So anyway, I'm pregnant with my daughter, and each year I got the restraining order in 2016, and each year it would be, I would go back. So 2017, I'd go back. I'd explain I'm still scared of him, because I am, you know, even though he would try to convince me like, no, you're not scared of me because you're still seeing me. I was still heavily scared of him though. It's really hard to explain. Like, this is why it's like you have to speak up about domestic violence, because a lot of people are just thinking like it's just them who stays with their abuser, even if they have restraining orders. Like, I know it's not just me. Like, I know that this other survivors have stayed with their abusers even after getting restraining orders or their abusers arrested. And so yeah, I went back in 2017, got their restraining order on for another year. So there was no contact on the restraining order, but he was talking to me and seeing me almost every day, or when he would go months without talking to me or seeing me in person, he would talk to me still. So then, 2018, I get the restraining order again, extended again for another year. And then at some point in 2018, that's when my daughter was conceived. It was really confusing, like going to the courthouse pregnant. Like, everybody at the courthouse was wicked confused, but they didn't ask, They didn't ask, but I'm sure they had an inkling that he was the father and that we weren't listening to the order. But so now it's 2019, and I want to amend the order to no abuse, but we can contact one another and see each other. And honestly, like, the victim advocates and everybody at the courthouse was highly against it, but they were like, it's your decision. So I amend the restraining order in February of 2018. And then as soon as that happened, we started getting ready to like buy a house together. Like, I'm pretty sure the next day after I amended the restraining order, we were taking like family photos at like JCPenney. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but yeah, that's what happened. So we took family photos together, and then yeah, started looking into like buying this house. And I think I saw like 2 houses before I saw this house. And I'm like, yeah, this is the house. So I had good credit and he had like the down payment. So we like needed both in order to get the house. So his name's on the house, my name's on the house. We sign and close for the house on March 28th. Oh, my daughter's born March 20th. So my daughter spent about like a week at that apartment, and then we moved and closed on the house and moved in. So yeah. So now I'm in this house. I'm still in the house. He gets arrested September 28th of 2019. I'm still currently in this house. So because he owns half the house, and his name's on the deed and the mortgage, like COVID honestly helped, because when you have two people like on the deed and the mortgage, you can't do anything without that other person's signature. So originally, because he got arrested and everything, like I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't. So, okay, he was the breadwinner. So I would pick up nanny shifts here and there. But I was also pregnant with my third. So he was making like all the money. You know, he was an electrician and he would pay the mortgage sometimes, but I mean, those were his responsibilities, were like the bills. And so when he got arrested, I had to start completely over again. So I had nothing. Like I didn't even have rights to my phone number because everything was under him. So I didn't have rights to the Wi-Fi. I didn't have, everything was in his name. The only thing that wasn't, that my name was on to, was the house. But his name was on everything else. So I couldn't even like pay my phone bill. Like I couldn't get my phone number to like go under my name and not his, like same with the Wi-Fi. So when he got arrested, I had to get food stamps. So I walked in to the Department of Transitional Assistance and asked, for emergency food stamps and cash assistance and everything. And that was how I survived and like fed my kids. And we would go to food banks and get food that way. It was really scary. I had to start completely over, and it was really hard to do that. But then when COVID happened, they said, okay, we can offer you a forbearance plan, which is like to stop foreclosure, because they were just about to start foreclosure. And then that's when they decided that they were gonna help me with the forbearance plan. And so they helped with the forbearance plan, which means like they're not going to foreclosure. They're not going to foreclose on me. They'll give me some time. So because of COVID, I was granted that without a signature by him. So yeah, I'm getting distracted because there's some people in my life that are being extremely inappropriate, and I'm not going to put up with that. So you will be blocked if you continue that conversation. So I will report the comment. Yeah, I'm reporting the comment, and I'm going to block you because I'm not standing for that on my live. Anyway, I'm gonna head out. I don't accept behavior like that. So, I've already been talking pretty long anyway. So, and this is all last second. So, I'll pick up this conversation another time. But moving forward, if you want to attend my lives, I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. But know that I will have to block you if that is what you're going to do. So, okay. Thank you all for your support and for listening, and I appreciate you so much. All right. Take care.